Life has a funny way of testing us, doesn't it? One moment you think you have it all figured out, the next, the entire world you've built comes crashing down. This is a story about a man named Mark, a man who, like many of us, believed in the sanctity of love, trust, and partnership. He and his wife, Sarah, were the couple everyone admired. They were high school sweethearts, and their journey together seemed like something out of a storybook. They'd built a beautiful life, a cozy home, and were planning for a future filled with children's laughter and shared dreams. Mark was a software engineer, logical and steady. Sarah was a freelance artist, vibrant and full of life. They were different, but their differences seemed to complement each other perfectly. Mark provided the stability. Sarah provided the sparkle. He thought they were unshakable. He thought their bond was forged in something stronger than time itself. But as he would soon learn, sometimes the things you believe in the most are the very things that can break you in ways you never imagined. And what matters isn't just that you break, but how you choose to pick up the pieces. Mark had been working on a massive project for months. The late nights and weekend hours were grueling, but he did it all for them, for their future. He'd picture Sarah's smile, their dream vacation, and it would all feel worth it. The project was finally launching, and to celebrate, his company gave everyone a surprise 3-day weekend. Mark was ecstatic. He didn't tell Sarah, wanting to surprise her. He imagined her joy, a lazy weekend together, just the two of them, reconnecting after the long stretch of work. He left the office early on Friday, picked up a bouquet of her favorite lilies, and drove home with a heart full of anticipation. As he turned onto their quiet suburban street, he felt a wave of contentment. This was his life, his home, his love. He parked the car, quietly unlocked the front door, and stepped inside, a wide grin on his face, ready to shout, "Surprise!" But the house was silent. A strange, unfamiliar silence. Her car was in the driveway, so she had to be home. "Sarah?" he called out, his voice echoing slightly in the hallway. No answer. He walked through the living room, placing the flowers on the kitchen counter. That's when he noticed it. A man's jacket, one he'd never seen before, slung carelessly over their favorite armchair. A cold knot began to form in his stomach. He slowly walked up the stairs, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The door to their bedroom was slightly ajar, and through that small gap he heard it. Not words, but sounds. The sound of soft laughter, a low murmur of a man's voice that wasn't his, and then a sound that shattered his world into a million tiny pieces. The sound of his wife, with someone else. In that single devastating moment, every shared memory, every whispered, "I love you," every future plan twisted into a cruel joke. The air was knocked from his lungs. His first instinct was a tidal wave of pure rage. He wanted to kick the door in, to shout, to confront them, to unleash the storm of betrayal that was tearing him apart. His hand clenched into a fist, knuckles white. He could see it all playing out in his mind. The screaming, the accusations, the ugly, messy scene. But then something shifted inside him. Amidst the searing pain, a strange, profound clarity washed over him. What would shouting accomplish? What would breaking down the door prove? It wouldn't undo what was done. It wouldn't erase the image now burned into his mind. It would only reduce him to their level, dragging him down into the mud of their deceit. He looked at his own reflection in the hallway mirror. He saw the pain in his eyes, but he also saw the strength that had gotten him through every challenge in his life. And he knew, with absolute certainty, that he was better than this. He deserved more than a screaming match over a love that was clearly a lie. His dignity was worth more than that. He took a deep, shuddering breath, the kind that hurts on its way in. He unclenched his fist. The anger was still there, a hot coal in his chest, but it was now tempered with a cold, resolute calm. He was not a victim in their cheap drama. He was the man of the house, and he would leave it as one. With a steadiness he didn't know he possessed, Mark turned around. He walked back down the stairs, each step deliberate and silent. He didn't slam the door. He didn't make a sound. He went to his study, a small room filled with his books and personal projects. Methodically, he packed a single bag. His laptop, a change of clothes, his most important documents. He moved with a quiet efficiency, his mind a blank slate, focusing only on the task at hand. He walked back through the house, a ghost in the life he had built. He paused in the kitchen and looked at the lilies he'd bought, now sitting on the counter. They seemed to mock him with their beauty. He picked up a pen and a small notepad from the counter. He didn't write a letter filled with anger or heartbreak. He simply wrote 2 words. I know. He placed the note beside the flowers. Then he walked to the front door, took one last look at the home that was no longer his, and slid his wedding ring off his finger. He placed it gently on the small table in the entryway, right next to the house keys. He opened the door, stepped out into the afternoon sun, and closed it softly behind him. He didn't look back. He just walked away, his posture straight, his head held high, not like a man who had lost everything, but like a king leaving a kingdom that was no longer worthy of his rule. The days that followed were a blur of numb disbelief. Mark stayed at a friend's place, his phone buzzing incessantly with calls and texts from Sarah. First came the confused messages. Where are you? Is everything okay? Then, the frantic calls after she must have found the note and the ring. Finally, a flood of long, rambling texts filled with apologies, excuses, and desperate pleas. She claimed it was a mistake, a moment of weakness. She said it meant nothing. She swore she loved him. Mark read none of them. He blocked her number. He knew that engaging with her would be like drinking poison and expecting her to get sick. Her words were meaningless now, echoes in a life that was no longer his. He understood that true strength wasn't about fighting a battle that was already lost. It was about having the wisdom to walk away and save yourself. His silence was his answer. It was more powerful than any argument, more definitive than any shouted word. His silence told her that she had no power over him anymore. She could not manipulate him with tears or win him back with empty promises. By refusing to engage, he took back control of his own narrative. He was not the cheated husband. He was a man choosing his own path forward. He focused on what he could control, himself. He went to the gym. He threw himself into his work with a renewed focus. He spent time with friends who supported him without judgment. He started rebuilding his life, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Months passed. The legal proceedings were handled through lawyers, clean and detached. Mark never saw Sarah again. He heard through the grapevine that her affair had fizzled out shortly after he left. The thrill was gone, replaced by the messy reality of what she had done. Mark, on the other hand, began to thrive. Leaving behind the weight of a toxic relationship allowed him to rediscover himself. He found joy in simple things again. A morning run, a good book, a meaningful conversation with a friend. He was promoted at work, his clear mind and renewed energy making him more effective than ever. He started traveling, seeing the places he and Sarah had only talked about. He was no longer just one half of a couple. He was whole, on his own. He learned that walking away wasn't an act of weakness, but the ultimate act of self-preservation and strength. It was a declaration that his peace and dignity were non-negotiable. He hadn't needed to scream or cause a scene to prove his worth. His quiet, dignified exit had said it all. He had chosen himself. He had walked away from the rubble not as a victim, but as the architect of a new, better life. He was a king who had simply left a crumbling castle behind to build a new, stronger kingdom of his own. This story isn't just about betrayal. It's about the incredible power of self-worth. Mark's story teaches us that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to walk away in silence. You don't owe an explanation to those who have disrespected you. Your dignity is your own, and you have the right to protect it fiercely. When someone shows you they don't value you, believe them. Don't fight for a place in a life where you are not cherished. Your peace of mind is the most valuable asset you have. If you ever find yourself in a situation that breaks your heart, remember Mark. Remember that you have a choice. You can let the storm consume you, or you can quietly walk away, head held high, and trust that you have the strength to build a brighter future for yourself. Your silence can be the most powerful statement you ever make. Thank you so much for watching and for being a part of our community. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. We love hearing from you, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.